Hello students, welcome to La Excellence. Welcome to the session on Geography through Maps 2017. In this session, we'll be focusing on most important points that are required from Prelims 2017. So right from Brexit to the presidential elections in United States and the issues associated with it, and the One Belt One Road and the counter to One Belt One Road policy of China across the world. All these issues from geography point of view we will be seeing. As you're aware, international relations can also be termed as geopolitics. Whenever politics is there, it is usually asked in international relations in mains exam. But the geography point of that will be usually focused in prelims. Successively, we have seen several questions from this area mainly because these become important in that particular year. So, I would suggest you to please go through the other videos just to ensure that if there are any geographical map points that you need to remember, and also if there are some places which I would have told is important from 2016 point of view, also you have to see, for a simple reason that sometimes UPSC asks you 2 to 3 years back questions as well. But mostly the questions will come from this video itself. Just to be on the safer side, see the previous videos as well, right? So before I begin with, my request to you is please have a proper atlas with you. Even if you don't have a standard one, whichever you have, in those maps, just try to mark those important areas whichever we are focusing now. The second important thing is, if at all in your atlas those things are not there, please open it on your mobile or internet and identify those places and try to mark them. This year, clarity on maps is more important than previous years. The reason for this is, this year is more about connectivity projects throughout the world. So, let's quickly get into what are these issues and what exactly we need to look at them, right? So, the first important issue that we all have to focus this year is with respect to United States of America, but we'll be taking entire North America and see the related news as well. So the first issue that is important for the world this year was with respect to Donald Trump, where we have to see some of the issues in North America properly. The first important thing we need to see is with respect to Canada and US border, and also we have to see Mexico and US border. As you are aware, United States had planned to build wall along the Mexican border, but majority of the people of United States were also planning to move towards Canada. If I say mostly, there were talks that they are willing to move towards Canada. So we have to look at the border of United States with Canada and Mexico. And not only this, we need to understand some geographical features which are actually associated with US and Canada and also US and Mexico. One, politically we need to see which are the states which border US and Mexico, and geographically we have to see what is there between Canada and United States. So let's quickly take Canada and United States. The first important thing we all have to see is actually with respect to the Great Five Lakes of United States: Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie and Ontario. They may also ask you to arrange it from west to east, and remember Superior is the biggest among all this. And you have a St. Lawrence waterway also present along with this, right? So this particular information, can you see this? St. Lawrence River, yeah. So the particular information is also important for us. And then when we are looking at the border between US and Canada, you should be aware that it is 49-degree latitude. We also say in temperature terms, -10-degree isotherm actually forms boundary between Canada and United States. And the region where you have Lake Winnipeg and also through Mississippi and all, if we actually take this region, this is your prairies, and you have Rocky Mountains on this side. So guys, it's important for us to locate Canada, where we are seeing the Great Five Lakes, and we are also focusing on the border and also the Rocky Mountains. In between Rocky Mountains and Great Lakes, you actually have the prairies, right? And below that, in this region, you actually find Appalachian mountain ranges, right? So this is very, very important for us to look. Mississippi and Missouri. Missouri and Mississippi usually meet at St. Louis. So this type of factual information is also important for us. So United States and Canada, you have to look. And the second important factor, Canada also has rich uranium reserves and India has nuclear agreements with them as well, right? So guys, the next important point that we all have to observe is actually with respect to US and Mexico, where we have to see the border and the states which are actually present along the border in United States. That is your Texas, you have to look at New Mexico, Arizona and California. Should we have to remember? If possible, it would be beneficial. Then the river which actually flows through is Rio Grande, which actually forms boundary between US and Mexico. High possibility they may ask you a question about this, right? So which river separates Mexico and United States can be asked. Then in this region, you actually have the Sonoran Desert, and Mexico is famous for silver, and it is also having uranium reserves, where the Prime Minister Modi had visited to actually have an agreement there as well. So it's very, very important for us to look at US and Mexico border this year, mainly because Trump planning to construct wall around it. Look at the other geographical features in Mexico as well. That is, you can see Sierra Madre Occidental and you can see Sierra Madre Oriental as well. So these type of mountains where it is present, they may ask you because Mexico may be focused this year because of Trump. So just try to ensure US Canada, US Mexico is clear in your preparation, right? So after this, let's quickly move to another important issue with the United States. That is with respect to Cuba. Cuba is very, very important this year, mainly because one, Fidel Castro passed away, and the second, US has started improving its relationship with Cuba. If that is the case, then let's see what exactly we need to look from Cuban point of view. One, we have to look at the strait that separates United States from Cuba, Strait of Florida, and you also have to see Yucatan Channel, which actually separates Cuba from Mexico, and you also have to see Windward Passage between Cuba and Haiti, right? So this factual information with respect to Cuba is important. The most important one is the Strait of Florida between Cuba and United States of America. Yucatan Channel with respect to Cuba and Mexico, and Windward Channel with respect to Cuba and Haiti. Ensure that you are going through this carefully, as high possibility they may ask you a question. When it comes to the sea, Cuba is actually separated from the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea on the other hands, right? So just go through these information carefully once. Then when we look at Latin America, the most important thing first you have to observe is actually with respect to Panama, which is in between Costa Rica and Colombia. They may ask you a question with respect to this as well. The reason is Panama leaks is in news, so it's very, very important for you to consider Panama Canal, and it is also in between the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean. So this type of information is required for you. Then the mountain ranges that are present is Andes Mountains, and this is your Amazon basin, and the rainforest is actually called as selvas. Gran Chaco is also present here, where it is present in between Bolivia and Argentina. Grand Chaco, they may ask you where is the Grand Chaco present, Bolivia and Argentina. Paraguay River, Uruguay River, Parana River, all these are important. As you know about grasslands, it's very important for you to remember pampas. Alfalfa grasses were originally found here. And then Brazilian highlands, UPSC has already asked you about Guiana Islands, and you have Campos and Llanos. So please go through that as well. You have tropical grasslands, Llanos and Campos, and you have Patagonian desert. So it's very important for us to look at all this. Along with this, you have to see Atacama desert. Guys, so these are some of the geographical features which are very important for you. The rainforest of Amazon basin is actually called as selvas. So from South American point of view, it's very important for us to look at the geographical features, right? And along with this, in the previous videos we have actually seen with respect to Mercosur and all, just go through that carefully once. So the next important country or continent that we need to focus is Africa. Some of the major things in Africa is with respect to the Western African region. When I say Western Africa, first you need to look at some of the terms associated with this, which we have seen in current affairs and previous videos as well, but I just need to repeat it because high possibility this year there can be a question because of our president's visit to these countries as well. So the first important thing is Sierra Leone and Liberia is actually part of Grain Coast, and then when you observe, Ivory Coast is actually famous for ivory, and then you have Ghana for Gold Coast, and you have Togo, Benin and Nigeria for Slave Coast, right? So you have Grain Coast, you have Ivory Coast, you have Gold Coast, and you also have Slavery Coast. So they may ask you to arrange these states from west to east. It's very important for you to look at this. And as the Prime Minister has visited Spain, it's important for you to look at the country which is bordering Spain in Africa, that is Morocco. And you have Strait of Gibraltar, and Gibraltar Islands are actually controlled by UK. So this information is also important. And then we also have to look at Egypt, Suez Canal, where it's important for us to look at the places in Asia which has border with Egypt, which I'll be showing you later. But the Suez Canal is very important. And the second important thing, there is connectivity projects where they are planning to connect Asia with Africa. So when that actually has to happen, then it has to be through Egypt. Turkey connects Asia to Europe, whereas Egypt connects Asia to Africa. So it's very important for us to look at this. Then Kenya is important mainly because the Chinese One Belt One Road in Africa is entering through Kenya. I'll be showing that. So please look at the geographical features of Kenya, and if you observe, equator passes through Kenya. So this information is also important. Then can you see a country by name Djibouti here? Even this is very important for a simple reason that US and China both have got naval bases in this. This will ensure that if there is any ship which is crossing through Red Sea, it has to pass through Djibouti, and whoever have the naval base here, they can actually control the movement of this, and in case of any danger or piracy or anything, they will have an upper hand. So wherever you have the major sea routes, and every country wants to have its naval base to show their power in that particular region. So no one can stop Chinese ships from moving in this region. That would be ensured through this agreement of China. So Djibouti is very important this year. So we are looking at Suez Canal and we are looking at Djibouti. As soon as I told you about Djibouti, you have to look at the strait which is actually present there. That is Strait of Bab el Mandab, which is in between Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, or in the other words, I would say it is in between Yemen and Djibouti. So is it clear? and you also have to see the countries which has border with Djibouti. These three informations with respect to Djibouti is very important for you. Please ensure that you are going through these factual data once. So the next important issue is actually with respect to Brexit, where we need to look at the European Union countries. When we are looking, first try to see Ireland and UK properly. So very important for us to locate it. What separates UK from France? If you see, it is English Channel. Then UK is separated from Denmark through North Sea, and UK is separated from Ireland by Irish Sea. So some geographical information with respect to UK is also important for us. And then we have to look at some of the states which are actually not part of European Union. So that is also very important for us. So the major countries which are not part of European Union is Switzerland, Norway and Iceland. Very important for us to look at these three countries. Please try to remember, if UPSC asks you which of the following countries are not part of European Union, so these three, one of the three would be usually asked. So please be careful. Most of us will feel Norway may be part of and Switzerland is also part of. So please be careful about these two, right? And then can you see this particular portion? This is of Russia, right? And the sea which is here is actually Baltic Sea. I'll be showing you that as well. So please go through this particular information. One, EU countries and non-EU countries. The next important thing that we need to observe is actually with respect to Schengen zone or Schengen visa, where if you take the Schengen visa, you can move across Europe without any problem. That is, you need not take visa for individual countries. If you take visa for one, you can actually move across. So which are the countries within European Union which are not part of Schengen zone is UK. UK and Ireland are not part of Schengen zone. Please be careful. We are looking at this. UK is not part of Schengen zone, but UK was part of European Union and it has not come out of that till now. This is the important thing. Second, Norway, Iceland and Switzerland, which are not part of European Union, they are part of Schengen zone. So this is what you need to remember. UK part of European Union but not part of Schengen zone, but Iceland, Norway and Switzerland, which are not part of European Union but they are part of Schengen zone. So this factual information is also important. So the next important thing is actually with respect to the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. If they ask you which of the following are called as Baltic states, it is Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Russia also has border with Baltic Sea, but Baltic states we consider these three. And you have already seen they are part of European Union, and NATO and other forces want to install some weapons in this region to counter Russia. Russia has plans to attack this, and many people predicted this would end up in going for Third World War. So this is the reason why these states are important. UPSC will not ask you whether that happens or not, but they may ask you the states which are present in Baltic Sea. So please go through this carefully. Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. So the next important country is United Arab Emirates or UAE because of the Republic Day guest. So we need to look at UAE carefully. If we are actually seeing what separates Oman and Iran, it is Strait of Hormuz, or Strait of Hormuz separates which two countries? It is Oman and Iran. On the other hand, you also have to see Strait of Hormuz separates Persian Gulf from Gulf of Oman. So these two questions can also be asked. So UAE is important for us. Then when we actually consider the Arabian Peninsula, one, we need to look at UAE as I told you, and I want you to know that it is Oman and Saudi Arabia which has borders with UAE. High possibility they may ask you questions about this as well. We saw Yemen and Djibouti with respect to the Strait of Bab el Mandab, so that is also important. You have Persian Gulf and you also have Gulf of Oman, right? Then we also have to consider Syria. the countries which actually borders Syria. 1. Turkey borders Syria, right? Second, Iraq borders Syria. Remember, Iran doesn't have border with Syria, but Iran has border with Turkey. Very, very important. The region where Turkey, Syria, Iraq and Iran. So, if I consider this portion, you usually have Kurds or Kurds present in this particular region, right? So, you have Turkey, Syria, Iraq. Syria has border with Turkey, it has border with Iraq, it has border with Iran, and then it has border with Lebanon, and some portions have border with Israel, that is the Golan Heights region, and Syria also has border with Jordan. So, why is it important for us to look at these many countries? The reason is, as ISIL is in news, it is very, very important for us to look at the neighboring countries. In one way or the other way, all these neighboring countries are also part of the Syrian crisis. So, it is important for us to look at these factual information carefully. 1. We have to see Syria has border with Turkey, Syria has border with Iraq, but it does not have border with Iran. Please be careful. It doesn't have border with Iran. Then we also have to see it has border with Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, right? So, all this is important, but it does not have border with Saudi Arabia as well. So, please be careful about these factual information. So, Syria is away from both Iran and Saudi Arabia. It's very, very important. Confusion happens in this factual information itself. So, please be careful about this. Armenia is very, very important. I will come to Armenia this year, mainly with respect to Iran and North-South transport corridor. So, just wait, but this is also important, right? And then we have Azerbaijan, which is actually bordering the Caspian Sea. When you consider Iran, Iran has border with Caspian Sea, Persian Gulf and also with Gulf of Oman. The Chabba port actually comes somewhere here. So, it has entrance with Gulf of Oman. It is very, very important for us to look at Iran this year, because India has geographical access to Iran. Because of that, Iran becomes important for us. So, we will be seeing Iran carefully, but first I hope you understood Syria and then you understood about the countries which are bordering UAE. Now, let us see Iran separately. The same picture, we will see which are the countries which has border with Iran. So, when we look at Iran, Iran is important mainly because India cannot go to Afghanistan without the help of Iran, as Pakistan is not allowing India to move to Afghanistan. So, what India has planned? India has got access to Chabba port. From this Chabba port, we will go to the border of Afghanistan, and from here we actually enter into Afghanistan. So, to get access to Afghanistan, Iran is important. As Iran has given geographical access to India, and with increasing ties with Iran, what India has planned, we have also planned to increase our connectivity with Central Asian countries, and also through Azerbaijan and Armenia, we have plans to go to Russia, right? So, our North-South transport corridor is aiming to move in this direction. So, because of that, it is very, very important for us to look at the neighboring countries of Iran. First, when we take, so you have Turkey, you have Iraq, you have Armenia, you have Azerbaijan. Please remember in order as well, that is Iraq, Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan. These are having border with Iran on the western side. On the eastern side, if I take, you have Turkmenistan, you have Afghanistan and you have Pakistan. Turkmenistan, Afghanistan and Pakistan have border with Iran. So, 7 countries, it is easy to remember. So, when we take Iraq, Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan. So, these 7 countries have border with Iran. So, if we have to reach to any of these Central Asian countries or Russia, Iran can also be beneficial for us. I hope it's clear. It's very, very important for you to look at this factual information. The next important thing in this region is with respect to Afghanistan. So we need to know what is the relationship between India and Afghanistan, or geographically the countries which surround Afghanistan. So whenever I am taking Afghanistan, I have to see the countries which share border. One, Pakistan. The other one is India. Through POK they have access. So please say that India has border with Afghanistan. Iran has border. Turkmenistan has border. You might have read about Tapi pipeline, which also passes through this. And then you have Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, which has border with Afghanistan. Remember, to two cases, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan doesn't have border with Afghanistan. Easy to remember. You have 5 Central Asian countries: Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. 2 cases do not have border with Afghanistan: Pakistan, Iran, India, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan has border with Afghanistan. So this factual information is also very, very important to us. India constructed a dam in Afghanistan, and the dam was constructed on Hari River. Very, very important, on Hari River, India has constructed dam in Afghanistan. So please be careful about that as well. Hari River comes somewhere here, right? So it's important for us to look at these informations. Then the next important issue in international relations this year was with respect to sanctions against Russia by European Union and other forces, especially United States, because of the Crimean Peninsula. Because of Crimea, it is important for us to look at Black Sea, because Russia needs access to Black Sea. This portion of Russia where the Caucasus Mountains is there and the Sochi is there, we usually observe huge amounts of ice, or it is covered by ice, which does not give access to Black Sea. So it wants to go or reach Black Sea through Crimean Peninsula. Russia cannot have access to sea through Caspian Sea, because Caspian is completely surrounded by land, and the Siberian portion, that is eastern portion of Russia, is too far. So if we actually consider Russia's access to the oceans, it has to be through Black Sea, and now with melting of Arctic Ocean, we are saying that Russia's dependence on Black Sea may reduce. But if I have to go through Black Sea, then I want the Crimean Peninsula. And the most important place here was the Sevastopol, which was taken on lease. Now the Crimeans, that is 99% of Russians who were staying in Crimea, has agreed that they want to be part of Russia, and now Crimea is actually part of Russia. And you can see the Dnipro river as well. It's very, very important to look at this river, mainly because this river and the eastern side of this, you usually see lot of Russian speaking people present, and the river usually divides. So it's very, very important for us to look at this factual information also. UPSC may give this picture and ask you to arrange the seas. You should know that first you have Sea of Azov, Black Sea, then you have Marmara Sea and Aegean Sea. So if Russia has to enter, it has to come through Sea of Azov, Black Sea, Marmara Sea and Aegean Sea. They may give you 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have to remember this carefully. Can you see Turkey, which is in between Black Sea and Mediterranean Sea, right? And Cyprus is also important, as India had double taxation avoidance agreement with Cyprus, where we have modified it recently to avoid black money or money laundering. So guys, it's important for us to look at Black Sea as well. The next most important topic that we need to observe is with respect to One Belt One Road initiative of China, where high possibility there can be a question. So let us see how is the Chinese One Belt One Road initiative is planning to move. First, when we talk about the most important issue, that is China-Pakistan economic corridor, you all should be aware that is from Kashgar of Xinjiang province in China, it is actually passing through the Karakoram ranges and reaching the Gwadar port. This is your China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And when we start from Shanghai or Beijing, it actually flows or moves towards Kazakhstan, and from Kazakhstan it moves towards Russia, and from Russia it enters into Europe, right. So, this is one way of moving through the Baltic Seas, where Latvia has agreed to be part of One Belt One Road. So, one is moving in this fashion. So, the other one, if we are actually looking at the connectivity which moves through the Kashgar, correct, and it may actually enter through Kyrgyzstan and then Kazakhstan, right, Uzbekistan, Iran, then from Iran it goes to Istanbul. But the problem with this as of now is the presence of ISIS in this region, right. Kurds are also there. I told you this region is dominated by Kurds and there is issues. So, because of security issues, as of now China feels that it is better to pass through Caspian Sea and Black Sea rather than going through Iran and Istanbul. But it is very, very important for us to remember the geography of these countries. So, one, guys, please try to remember the Central Asian countries. High possibility they may ask you a question. It may go to the extent of asking you capitals of these countries as well. And it is very, very important for us to look at another important concept here, that is with respect to Shanghai Cooperation Agreement, where you have China, Russia, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan and Russia. First there were 5 countries, that was China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and also you had Russia. Later Uzbekistan actually joined, which became Shanghai Cooperation Organization. In Central Asia, which is not there, is Turkey, which is away from Russia as well. India and Pakistan also wants to be part of this. Shanghai Cooperation Organization is very, very important this year, but along with that, my suggestion to you is to look at the geography of it. That is, with China, which of the Central Asian countries have border? If you see Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. In this region, you have Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan which has border with China. Remember, Uzbekistan did not had border with China. That was the reason Uzbekistan was initially not part of Shanghai 5. The reason for Shanghai 5 is to improve the connectivity. Then Uzbekistan was also interested and it came in. So, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan does not have border with China. Guys, this year is all about which countries share border with which other country, mainly because everyone in the world is sitting with the atlas to see how exactly Chinese One Belt One Road is moving, how exactly the Maritime Silk Road is moving, which are the countries through which China is actually passing. So, all this makes it to be very, very important. And China, through the Kolkata Kunming Initiative, or the other word is BCIM, where we are looking at Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar, from Kolkata to Dhaka, Dhaka to Mandalay and Mandalay to Kunming. So, this is your BCIM, which is also an extension of One Belt One Road, but as India has said we are not part of it, this may not be considered as of now, but in future when India becomes, then Kunming or Kolkata Kunming Initiative is also very, very important for us, right. One we saw with respect to land, but now we have to see with respect to sea as well. That is, one, Shanghai, right, and it enters into East China Sea, then South China Sea, then it crosses through Strait of Malacca, then it can go to Sittwe port in Myanmar, Chittagong port in Bangladesh, Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, Malay in Maldives and Gwadar port in Pakistan. So, guys, ports are also important. They may give you match the following: Myanmar, Sittwe port, Bangladesh, Chittagong port, and then we go to Sri Lanka, Hambantota port, Maldives, Malay port and Pakistan, Gwadar port, Iran you have Chabar port of India. From this, it has plans to go to Kenya, Mombasa and then One goes through Red Sea, Suez Canal, and it enters into Mediterranean Sea and Europe. The other one goes across Africa and reaches Atlantic Ocean to go to South America, and from Mediterranean they enter into North America. So this is one belt, one road. Why CPEC is so important for China is because it is connecting its land route with sea route. As these two are happening, CPEC is very, very important for China, right? So with respect to OBOR, you are actually looking at two important things. One, you are actually looking at the countries which are geographically present together so that the connectivity is possible. Second, you have to look at the sea routes, where you have to see East China Sea, then you have to see South China Sea, then you have to see Strait of Malacca, which is actually in between Malaysia and Indonesia, and you have to look at Kenya, Mombasa, and you also have to look at the Suez Canal, right? Strait of Malacca, you have to look at Sumatra, which is having actual border, Indonesia, Sumatra in specific, right? So these type of factual informations with respect to Silk Road is very, very important. So if China is going for one belt, one road, India should also aim for some sort of connectivity. India is planning for North-South transport corridor to counter the OBOR. So here, earlier you had something called as a North-South transport corridor, which was moving from Moscow through Baltic Sea and then through the North Sea, English Channel, Strait of Gibraltar, Suez Canal, and to India. This is sea route for the North-South transport corridor. But when we look at the land route, Moscow or Russia, Azerbaijan, Iran, if it comes, and from there it can come through sea route to India. With Armenia coming recently, it has also agreed that fine, we may be part of it. So it will be Russia, Armenia, Iran, India through Chabba port. Do you understand? So India also have one land route and India can also have one sea route. One is through the Moscow or Russia, through the Baltic Sea, North Sea, English Channel, Gibraltar, Suez Canal, and it comes, and this is the old route. Now we are planning for a route, that is road connectivity from Russia, Azerbaijan, Iran, India, or Russia, Armenia, Iran, India. Very, very important, so please try to go through this carefully. So along with this, the United States has planned to go for something called as IPEDD. All the capital names are being given here. I first stands for Istanbul, right? Then you have Tehran, then you have Islamabad, correct? ITI, Istanbul, Tehran, Islamabad. From Islamabad, it will actually move to Delhi, from Delhi to Kolkata, Kolkata to Dhaka. That is why it is called ITIDKD. Can you tell? You have Istanbul, Tehran, Islamabad, Delhi, Kolkata, Dhaka, and then it reaches to Yangon of Myanmar. But India has plans from Yangon, we also want to go to Vietnam. That is, we want to connect across the ASEAN countries as well. So it's very, very important for us to look at this. This is also a plan to counter one belt, one road. Every country is coming up with its own plan. We don't know whether it will be formalized or whether it will be successful or not. At least there is a problem because of Islamabad and Pakistan, there won't be any movement of vehicles, so that may create trouble. So we have avoided Pakistan and through Iran we are coming to India. But if this becomes a successful project, it will be very, very interesting for us to look at these concepts in detail. Japan and India has also come together to build an alternative to one belt, one road, where India is saying India's soft power and Japanese money power can come together to increase its influence in Africa. So what we are trying to do is to connect Asia with Africa. Then you should know the countries which surround Egypt. This was what I was telling you. It's very, very important for us to look at these factual informations carefully once. So guys, please ensure that you're going through some of these factual informations in detail. At last, I did not get a proper picture to show you. Please try to see Antarctic once. When you're looking at Antarctica, please try to see Ross Sea and other seas which are present closer to Antarctica. So least possibility you may get a question, but still please see once because they are in news. So guys, after this we need to look at ASEAN. Always we have got one question from ASEAN in different forms. This year they may ask you with respect to arrange the states from west to east. You should remember Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam. And then if they ask you to arrange this, you have Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei and Philippines. It's very, very important for us to remember ASEAN. Then you have Irrawaddy, Salween, Chao Phraya, right? And then you also have Mekong. So it's very, very important for us to remember the rivers Irrawaddy, Salween, Chao Phraya and Mekong rivers as well. Always it's important for us to look at ASEAN. Strait of Malacca is here between Malaysia and Indonesia. So guys, please look at ASEAN once. Then the next important thing that you need to focus because of North Korea is the Korean Peninsula. You should see the seas which are actually present. You have Sea of Japan and LOC here, correct? And then you have North Korea and South Korea. The DMZ is the line which separates, no need to go in such detail, but the Korean Peninsula is important and the country which has border with North Korea is China. North Korea is actually in between China and South Korea, right? So this is also important. At last, though I have repeated, again this was asked in mains 2016, because of the South China Sea, it's very, very important for us to look at some of the countries which has border. Please remember China, Vietnam, Brunei, Malaysia, Philippines and Taiwan has border, and the line which is here is the 9 dotted line which China is claiming as part of it. So the Paracel Islands and the Spratly Islands were the disputed territories between China and Philippines. And also they may ask you which of the following are disputed in which seas. If they ask you Paracel Islands and Spratly Islands, it is in South China Sea. Senkaku Islands or Diaoyu Islands between Japan and China. And then they may ask you Spratly Islands between China and South Korea. So this type of factual information is also very, very important for your preparation. So guys, please try to see these map points carefully and revise them. High possibility you may get questions from this area. Is it fine? So apart from this, as I have already told you, Indian geography is also very, very important this year. When I am talking about Indian geography, what all you have to remember? 3 important things. 1. Please try to look from NCERT textbook. You have an atlas where they actually talk about advance of monsoons. They give you different lines which says that how is the monsoon advancing towards India. So this factual information is very, very important. Second important thing, you need to look at drainage system this year carefully. Whether it is with Indus because of the Indus Water Treaty issue between India and Pakistan, whether it is with respect to Namami Gange, whether it is with respect to Namami Brahmaputra and the bridge which was constructed on Brahmaputra, you have to look at the tributaries, Lohit River as well. Teesta River is important from Brahmaputra point of view. Barak River is important because of the National Waterways 6, correct? Kaladan River is important in Myanmar which connects to Mizoram. And then if I move, you have Paradeep, Mahanadi River, Damodar River which is also important this year. And then you have to look at Narmada because of the Savani project. You have to look at Krishna Godavari because of the issues associated with it. Kaveri was in news last year, so high possibility they may ask you a question about Kaveri again. So, if I keep on telling, there is every river that has its significance this year. So, high possibility they may ask you a question about the tributaries of these rivers and also the states through which these rivers usually flow. Very, very important for you to look at this. Then, because of wetland conservation and also because of lakes, it is important for us to look at some of the major lakes in India, whether it is the Vullar Lake or Dal Lake, or whether it is the Loktak Lake in northeast, whether Sambar Lake in Rajasthan, or if you are talking about the Chilka Lake. All these are important for you. Please try to go through these lakes of India once. So, my suggestion to you, rivers and lakes have become very, very important this year. Along with this, ports, because of the Sagarmala project, ports are important. Please try to go through them carefully once. So guys, if you can look at all these things, it is more than enough. No need to worry about any map pointing apart from this. If you have any other information on the basis of that, you can remember, but mostly at this point of time, I would ask you to revise them as many times as possible. And at last, I just want to tell you two more things. After prelims, we have our mentorship program, where we will be focusing on improving your answer writing practice, where we will be giving you individual feedback. And the feedback mechanism we have already explained through our videos, so just go through it. And the second important thing I want to tell you is actually with respect to the video lectures which will be available to you, that is internal security and international relations. Videos will be made available to you from mains point of view, and that will be covered specially for this year. As you know, internal security and international relations are usually associated with current affairs. So, we will be having separate modules for that as well. So, if at all you have any doubts, please feel free to contact us. The mail ID is already given. You can contact us, we will get back to you and let you know how exactly you can get access to these modules, and also you let us know how exactly we can help you with other topics as well. Thank you guys, thanks for watching and all the best.